Welcome to the acuforums.com podcast. We are live today on Saturday, September 6th, 2025. And as you'll see when I share my screen, I'm just getting this in before the end of the day. More on that in a little bit here. You can check out all episodes on the acuforums.com/podcast page. The title of this is episode 156. This is the acuCONNECT 2025 preparation part 3 episode. And you can find related links at acuforums.com/episode 156, which you can see displayed on the bottom of your screen there. So this is part 3 in me forcing myself to prepare for acuCONNECT, which is less than 2 weeks away. It's 2 weeks from yesterday. And I'm actually flying out to New York tomorrow. Then I'll be in Utah the following week. And so I got to get some prep done. Did some prep today. And even though it's just before midnight, I'm just trying to get this recorded so I can get it off my plate. And I'll probably need to do a part 4 before acuCONNECT, but at least this can wrap up a lot of loose ends for me. And that's why I'm doing it. You'll see once I share my screen, which let's go ahead and do that. Let's get that started here. And you can see, let me just do that. Yeah, you'll see down here, it is 11:46 at night on Saturday, September 6th. So just trying to get this done before I head out to New York tomorrow. All right, so we left off in part 2. The whole idea of this is to record how I'm preparing, or the kind of the thought process I went through for my acuCONNECT presentation, which is only half an hour long. And I'm too lazy to write up a blog post with everything. I'm not going to have time to do that. So I figured I'd use the podcast to at least do some type of documentation on what I came up with and why. And that's what we're doing here. We're part 3, third part into it. So we left off with part 2 with a generic inquiry. Let's get that pulled up here. And I've done a little work on it since then. I even renamed it to this, Orders Old. So if we take a look at this, let's see what we're pulling here. We're pulling in sales order line information. We were joining it over to shipment information. Then let's see what else. We were grouping, and this I was having trouble with, but I got this working finally. This is the formula I wound up with, and I was grouping on shipment date. And then on the results grid, we had that same date, we called it week shipped. And then I had the item class, quantity ordered, quantity shipped. And I think that was everything I was showing. So let's take a look at that. And so I came up with something like this, where I could see for the week ending August 9th. And I think at the end of the last part, I wasn't getting that on the right day of the week. But you can see now August 9th, that's a Saturday. I wanted it to be a Saturday. So that part's working, but I realized this isn't going to work because this is just totaling up the total ordered versus the total shipped for that entire week. That's not going to tell me what percentage of my order lines were not on time and not the right amount of quantity. So what I realized is we need to do this in 2 different layers. So I scrapped this idea. That's why I renamed it to Orders Old. And before I pull up the new idea, let's pull back up the sales order screen. Can't remember if we pulled this up before. I think we did. Let's pull it up again anyways. And I was grouping on shipment date, but I realized I still kind of struggling which one to use. You got date requested on at the header level. You've also, I believe, got a scheduled shipment date. Yeah, right here on the header level. Then on the line level, you got a requested on date and a ship on date. This, I believe, just takes the ship on. Really, it should be reverse here. Takes the ship on, adds in the customer lead time days for that customer address, and pushes that out to the requested on date. So that allows you to put it like requested on, and it backs up the ship on based on the lead time. So anyways, I got a bunch of dates going on. I decided to go with order date instead. Just thinking that, I don't know, then you're looking at everything that was ordered in a given week rather than everything that's shipped in a given week. Now, things could still move around on you though, because if you had something that was ordered, let's say on Friday, and it doesn't ship yet, it's going to get counted against you the way I'm doing this until the following week. Let's say if it ships the following week, then you might still ship it on time versus the ship on date here. And so it still might be counted okay the following week. So I think in the real world, you'd probably wind up looking a few weeks back before you sort of let the dust settle based on the order date. But the idea is just present a starting point here at acuCONNECT. It's not to get too complicated. I think I've already bitten off more than I should have. And so anyways, I'm just going to use the order date. All right, so then we come back here. And I did two queries. So first one, I just called it acuCONNECT orders 01. Let's walk through this. I went with a little bit different table. So I went right from the order line to the ship line. And you'll see here, going from the order line to the order, so I can get the order date, the order line to the ship line, so I can get then I go from the ship line to the shipment to get the ship date. And I guess if you want to see the joins, let me do that again. So there's my joins there. There's my joins there. And there's my joins there. Then let's see, no parameters. We've got a condition in here just to avoid things like return authorizations and quotes and other order types that I don't care about. I just went with these two order types. Then I'm grouping by order line. So I'm going to wind up with just one line per order line for this generic inquiry. I'm doing oldest line to newest line. And then let's take a look at the results grid. So in the results grid, we're taking the maximum order date, which should just be the order date, but we have to do some kind of aggregation because we didn't group on that field. Then I got the order type, order number, line number. That's the three fields you need to make the line unique. Then I'm taking the base order quantity. I went with the base just so we have more apples to apples. Not really concerned about unit of measure to keep it somewhat simple. Order quantity, and then I'm just taking the max because there should only be one order quantity. So just taking the max there. This is so I can get a total on the bottom. You'll see why later. Then we're taking the ship quantity. Now, there might not be a shipment yet for the order. So all this formula is doing is it's saying, go ahead and sum up the ship quantity. But if there is none, just make it 0. I call that ship quantity. Oh, looks like that is not right. Let's fix that. Now I notice you do get this warning, and the reason is I'm then using this 01 inquiry in the 02 inquiry, which we'll see later. It's also telling us up here that it's being used as the source in another inquiry. This is a new feature in 2024 R2. Let me confirm that. Pull up the release notes. I believe it was 2024 R2. If we look in here. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was R1. Let's see, 2024 R1. I don't think it was 2025 R1. Let's check that. Well, I'm going to find out. Let's see. Where am I going to find this? Pretty sure it shows up in platform. Let's see. There we go. Oh, they put in reporting. So it was 2024 R1. All right. So this is, wow. Boy, it's been a lot longer than I thought. I haven't used it a lot personally, but this is where they allow you to use a generic inquiry in another generic inquiry. So that's the feature I'm leveraging here. 2024 R1 is when that came out. So anyways, that's why we got that pop-up. But I went ahead and saved that change. And let's go ahead and look at this. So we're looking at a bunch of order lines. And let's find some good examples. So we're for order 43, line 1, 1360 were ordered. We shipped 1360. I went with the ship on date on the line, which I'm calling the ship date scheduled. Again, not perfect because that can get moved around by the shipping department, but that's what I went with. And then here's the actual ship date. So we shipped what was ordered and we shipped it on or before when it was scheduled to ship. So then you've got this column here, which says good. So if we go back here, let's take a look at that. So we had, let's see, ship quantity. Here's the ship date, which is the scheduled ship date from the sales order line. Here's the actual shipment date. You see, I'm taking the max here. So if there is more than one shipment, it's going to use the latest shipment date and pull that back. And then here's my good calculation. This is probably the most complicated one. But what it's doing is first it's comparing the two dates. So if the ship date on the line is basically, this is what the math is doing here is if it's less than or equal to, sorry, if the actual ship date is less than or equal to the ship date on the line, and if the difference between what this is doing, if the difference between quantity ordered and quantity shipped is 0, if both those things are true, then it's going to put a 1 in that column. Otherwise, it's going to put a 0. I called the column good because you total up all the ones to get the good lines. And then I just hard coded a 1 and called it all for all lines. It's just to make my math a little bit easier because now all we have to do is we just have to total up we total up the good column to find the good lines, divided by the total of the all column. And that's going to be the percentage of my lines that are good. So my service level that I'm going with here is percentage of sales order lines that were shipped on time and the quantity that was ordered was shipped. So if we look at this next one down, we can see that we did ship what we ordered. So we were good there, but we shipped it a day later than it was scheduled. So both those things have to be true for it to be good. They weren't. So this is a 0. That's not a good line. This one's also a 0. It was shipped 3 days late. If I look through, I can probably find an example. I'll find one where it was undershipped. See if we can find one of those just to prove that our calculation is working correctly. Hopefully I can find one. You know what? Let me sort on this. I don't know why it didn't come up sorted on that to begin with. Let's give ourselves more lines to look at. All right, here's an example where there was no shipment. So that's where that formula is going to come in. And if it's null, then it puts a 0. Ship date will be empty. So that's not a good line for sure. Looking for an under shipment though. Let's see if we can find one. Looking for one that's not 0, that's partially shipped, but that did not ship the full quantity. And I had one earlier before I went live, but I might not be able to find one now. Let's give it a few more pages. Oh, is that one? Nope. I know what I do. Let's just take it out to Excel. Just want to prove that my formulas are working. Also double check it because I'm a little skeptical myself. Okay, so we're looking for something where this is more than 0. Let's do an and. And this is less than this. First one is on line 83. So let's see. Oh, we're so close. One more page. We should be. Here is one right here. Okay, perfect example. So this one you can see it was shipped on time, on or before the date it was scheduled to ship, but we shipped 100, not 147, and so that is not a good line. So both those things have to be true for it to be a good line. All right. So we're taking 2 passes at this because I needed to be able to calculate it's good or not. That's kind of the detail level. And then we come on top of that with our next query, which is 0, 2, to make sure I didn't forget anything. Yeah, good there. And here's where we're going to use the previous generic inquiry in this generic inquiry. Now, date info, I'm only using for some formatting. You'll see that in a minute. So there's no joins between the two, no parameters, not even any conditions. And this is kind of ugly because when you look for a formula field, it has some really long formula names. So how do you figure out which one it is? I don't know. The best way I've come up with is, let me just pop this into a new tab. I'll just remove the caption and see what it displays. So like I know this should be the order date. So if we go back to this one, we got to remove order date and remove it here. And if we do that, you can see it'll show us the formula. So it's formula 354 CAF, and that is 354 CAF. You usually I've never needed more than 5 or 6 characters to know which one it is. So I typically just write them down because we got a few formula fields. I'll just jot them down so I don't have to go figure them out every time. So anyways, that's how we know that. Put that back in there. All right, so we're grouping on the, oh, you know, I just realized that's supposed to be the, oh, I didn't do my week formula. Okay. This is what happens when you do something too late at night. All right, let's get that working. I have a feeling I'm going to break something else when I do this. All right, it's okay. The best I can do for documentation. I wish it was cleaner, but at least it's better than nothing. I'm just going to take my same. Oh, I lost it, didn't I? Okay, let's do this one. I was troubleshooting something and I just realized I'm probably going to be back to where I was before. I thought I had this figured out. All right, well, we're going to do our best here. So I want to take the 354 CAF. And I should give this a better name too. This is the order date WE for week ending. And here's where I'm using date info. Without this, I believe this will have the time in it. Let's check that. Yeah, see how it's got the time? I don't need that. So I'm just using the date info date field. I used to use the CR case, just some random data access class that formatted dates as dates without times. But I discovered while preparing for this that this one does it as well. So I like this, makes more sense. Date info dot date. I just set a width there, and then I'm doing my service level calculation. So here we got those funny looking formula fields again, but it just, trust me, it's the good column divided by the all column. So it is summing up the values in the good column, dividing it by the sum of the values in the all column, multiplying by 100 to get a whole actual integer number percentage, and then rounding it off to 0. Probably a cleaner way to do that, but that's the formula I came up with. And then I'm formatting it as a integer value. And so that's how we come up with these nice looking service level percentages. But here's where I think I'll have to table this for the next. Yeah, getting the same problem I was going to. So I'll show you the problem I haven't figured out. But I think we're just going to have to table that for part 4. All right. So before I show you that, that's our generic inquiry. And then I went ahead and dropped it on a dashboard. So here's the dashboard. And actually, I think I'm going to have to just redo this because I changed a bunch of stuff. Let's redo this. So we're putting this on top of the order 02 inquiry. And I don't know why on mine, it looks like I only have one option, but if you scroll through, you can see the other chart options. So I'm doing a line chart, week ending. I want to do 20 values. I'm going to format this as a date so it doesn't have the time in there. And then we're going to take the service level. I don't think it matters if you do sum or max, but I don't know. Definitely got some more troubleshooting to do. I'll show you why. So the thing I was troubleshooting was, if you look at this August 24th, 2024, it says a service level of 94%. That does match. That does match the 94% value here, August 24th, but it does not match. If I go into the detail, oh, I just realized why. Okay, good. All right, problem solved. I think. Let's see. It's the week ending days. That's what happens when it's now past midnight. All right, so I was just looking at the August 24th dates, but I forgot it's the whole week that I need to include. Okay, hopefully the math is going to work now. Good. Okay, so 24 should include everything from the 18th to the 24th. So let's check that. Is between August 18 and August 24. And let's see what we got here. We got 36 records. Let me take them out to Excel. So I can tell all my lines if they're good or not good. I take this out to Excel. Oh, it thinks these are texts. I know there's a better way to do this, but this is me at 12:12 a.m. getting through it. Can't remember what it is. Why is that still not working? There's some down there. There we go. All right, so let's check the math on this. So we have 34 lines that are good, 36 lines total. I guess let's just do the math in Excel. So we'll say, what's 34 divided by 36? Ah, good. Okay, 94%. All right, good. So that matches our 94% right here for the week ending August 24th, 2024. All right. So this looks nice, right? We've got a nice service level line chart here on an acuMatica dashboard. So we've finished off the service level part of what I was trying to calculate. Now, I would like to do it on a dashboard, an acuMatica dashboard, but the problem here is that I don't know of a way, maybe someone out there does know of a way. I don't know of a way to have a secondary axes. So what you can do in Excel, and what at this point I've decided I'm just going to kick this out to Excel for acuCONNECT. You'd be able to show one set of numbers here, service levels going from 0 to 100. And then you'd have another axis where we could show the inventory values, which could be like 0 to like $8 million or whatever. Forget what the highest inventory value is. I can't do that, or I can't figure out a way to do that in an acuMatica dashboard, because back here again, I don't know of a way to do I said, man, I mean, maybe I could play with this. But anyways, sake of time, I just decided not going to be able to do that. So already I'm going to have to go out to Excel, I think. Well, I've decided to go out to Excel for now plotting the inventory value on top of this, because that was the whole goal of this exercise. I could do another chart down below this to do inventory value, although even that actually, as I'm going to show you in a minute, is a challenge that I have not come up with a solution to. But really the main goal was putting them on top of each other. So that's one reason why I'm going to wind up going to Excel. Another reason why, if we pull up a Report Designer report. So I tried doing this in Report Designer. Thank you, by the way, to Laura Jaffe. So let me pull up something for you. If you go to community.acumatica.com, and let me see if I can find it. Where is it? Community library? Yes. Thank you to Chris Hackett for our last podcast episode. Helped me navigate this a little better. Right on the top here of this webinar, there's a recording here. This was done by Laura Jaffe, and she talks in here about how she figured out how to use the chart feature in Report Designer. I had never been able to get it to work, but at least I got something on a chart. I had never been able to do that. So we do have something that looks like inventory value, but it looks kind of funny that like I didn't play with it too long to figure out if I could get this formatting better, like put some commas in here. But it looks like we go from 0 to 6 million, then way back down to 0. Then we bounce back up to over 6 million, way back down. What's actually happening here is I couldn't get it to chart a running total. I could only get it to chart the activity that happened that week. So what's actually happening here is in this week, there was an addition of 6 million to inventory. Then in this week, there was a little over 2 million in inventory. So actually, this number should really be up to over 8, because we had 6 million, we had 2 million, we should be over 8 million. Then we add another 6+ million, we should be over 14 million. But it's not showing us a running total that keeps going up. And what's interesting is there's never any negative weeks. And that's just, I guess, the sample data. I'm actually a little skeptical of that. I think I know what the problem is. But yeah, okay, I'll show you the problem when we open up the report. But either way, we're only getting the activity for the week. We're not getting a running total. So if we take a look at this report, we'll be able to see that. This was Laura's recommendation, just to put it in the footer. You drag the chart onto it. And there's so many settings. This is why I had never been able to get it to work before. But she recommended just doing the series. You can see a big old ugly formula here, but this is my week ending formula. And I also did a group with that same formula. So right there. So this is what Laura recommended. Do a group. I don't know why this works. I still don't really understand it. I'm not doing anything in the groups. This is not printing. There's nothing in there. But for some reason, when you group and then use that same formula in the series axis label, and then you come down here to the Y value. So here's my problem. My problem is this. I need to multiply by, there's something in here, this right here. This makes it 0, +1 or -1. I think that's what I need to change. So you put the formula in there, but you see this is just going to give me the sum of all the cost values for the period, but it's not a running total. I experimented with putting in variables that did running totals. I think I did one here. I even tried adding multiple groups. I couldn't get it to chart the way I wanted to. So it's definitely a possibility that you could get a running total working here. And then maybe with all these settings that are in here, maybe there's a way to do a secondary axis. I just gave up for the sake of time. But Yeah, actually, you can even see right here. There's a secondary possibility. So I'm going to kick this out to Excel, but if there's a way to do the running total in here, then you could possibly do the secondary axis and get the service level on top of it. But I gave up, at least for the sake of this presentation. Let's check if we get any negative weeks at least. Now that I multiply, basically it's just showing us if it was a transaction that added to inventory, it's going to be a positive one. That inventory mult, whatever it was called, will be a negative one if it's a transaction that's removing from inventory, like an inventory issue transaction. All right, this makes more sense. We do have some negative weeks where inventory is decreasing. But still right here, we've got mostly positive values, a little dip, but then a big bump. So by this point in time, we should be over 6 million in inventory. We shouldn't have this down, up, down, up. It should be more of a trending up. And then we'd start to trend down when we get into this area. We'd have a big trend up here. But again, not doing the running total. So what I ended up doing, let's clear all this out. When we go to Excel, and I'm not going to get to that in this part, I'm going to get to sleep. But when we go to Excel, one thing you want to be mindful of is not sending more data than you need, because when you send data to Excel over the OData connection, it doesn't handle large volumes of data. It'll crash on you. And so we're already, I think, pretty good with the service level because we're just doing one value per week. And I even gave up on the whole idea of doing by item class. Originally, I wanted to do that. But with acuCONNECT coming up less than 2 weeks away, I'm not going to try to get that done. So we're just winding up with one value per week on the, because we're only going to wind up sending this, the orders to. Let's see. Well, yeah, what do we have in our sample data here? Yeah, 600 records. That's totally doable over OData because one record per week. And so I want to do something similar with the inventory valuation numbers. So let's walk through this first. I didn't want to send the entire inventory transaction history. I'm using date info the same for formatting, just like with the service level. So no joins, no parameters. This was for testing. We can get rid of that. I am grouping by week, and I threw financial period in here just to illustrate something. No sort order. And then we got results grid. So here's our week or week ending, the financial period, and then that same calculation that we were doing in Report Designer, where we take that positive one or negative one number, multiply it by the tran cost from IN tran, sum it up, and that should give us the activity for that week. So let's take a look at that. Also not bad here, 701 records. So I've got 2 queries now that I'll be able to feed to Excel over OData. And I also feel comfortable that you'd be able to do this in your environment and you're not going to crash the OData connection. But this is also only giving us the differences. So like, remember we saw that big jump, little bit back down, another big jump on the chart. We can see the numbers here in numerical format. And I threw financial period in here just because I wanted to illustrate that the dates don't always fall in the financial period you think they would based on month. I believe this is a monthly fiscal calendar. Let's see here. Going back to 2013. Yeah, it should be just January dates that wind up in period 1. But for some reason, we've got some transactions. These were probably just, I mean, this is sample data I'm dealing with. So I'm not super surprised, but we got something dated February 2nd, but that lands in the January period. And I did this because I wanted to be able to tie out the numbers. So let me show you how I was working with that. Get rid of 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 that So I wanted to tie this out to the historical inventory valuation report. And if we take a look at this, let's get rid of the branch filter. I'm just running this for all companies, all branches. We wind up with a total at the end of period 1, 2013 of 5,881,950 and 15 cents. So we should pick up everything with the period 1 on there. 5,881,950, 15 cents. We tie out to the penny. Great. We move to the next period. $65.19,667. Let's look at that. $65.19,667 and 31 cents. We tie out to the penny again. But if we go to the end of 2013, $43.96, $291 and 3 cents, 7 cents. We're off by 4 cents by the end of that year. I don't know why. And then if we take it all the way out to the current period, $17,583,180. Let's see what this comes up with. This might take a minute to run. You're going to see it's going to be off by more than just a few cents. I don't know why. I still think that tran cost is the value to use. I don't know if it has something to do with the sample data, although I did run the I ran the validate. What's it called? I think it's called validate. The validate inventory, or the, what's it called? Recalculate. I ran the recalculate inventory screen, and that still didn't fix the numbers. So I don't know what's going on in my environment, but I still feel pretty comfortable with tran cost. I just want to point this out. You'll see I'm off by a couple $1 million now. I'm hoping it's my sample data. I'm hoping if you run this in your environment, you're not going to experience a difference. But I do want to point that out. There could be something wrong with me choosing to go with IN tran cost. But at this point, that's what I'm going with. So I've got a query now that's going to pull me the values by week, the values that inventory went up or down by week. And that's, I believe, all I got where I'm at. Let's see. Yeah. I think that's all I've got for tonight, or by this point this morning. But just following, wanted you to be able to follow my thought process here. We're going to, next part, we're going to wind up taking this inventory query and the orders 02 query, and I'll feed them into Excel for the reason that I can do a running total in Excel, and also for the reason that I know how to plot both things on top of each other, the service level and the inventory value, which was the whole goal of the thing. I should point out that there is a workaround that you can use if you want to plot two things on an acuCONNECT dashboard that have totally different values, like a 0 to 100 service level and a 0 to $10 million inventory balance. You could, the math on this might get tricky how to do it, but you could do like divide by the highest value. So every value becomes a percentage of the highest value. And that's as a way to get everything to be just 0 to 100. Even if you could figure out the math on that, though, you're not going to be able to see when you hover over it the real values for the inventory numbers. So I'm not a big fan of that method, but I thought I'd at least mention that as a possible way to get two different things on the same axis. Another thing, so for sure, probably could have done this with the SQL view, but I was trying to avoid that. I was trying to do regular acuMatica, even though I've done some SQL views the last two acuCONNECTs in acuCONNECT 2024 and acuCONNECT 2023. Trying to steer clear of SQL this year. I also just got this working tonight. So I didn't play with it too much, but I did want to point out this is a preview build of acuMatica 2025 R2, and they introduce a major change to generic inquiries where you can now write something they're calling GIQL, I think is what it is called, instead of SQL, GIQL. And let's see if my first one is still in here. Yeah, here we go. So if you have the what they call the low code, no code way of looking at things, but you also have this advanced. And when you go to advanced mode, you can write code in here. So I was playing around with this. Let's get rid of this. So this is saying grab everything from the sales order line table. I did an alias here. Then the where is filtering to only be order types that are SO. And then here's the 4 columns that I want to grab. I haven't played with formulas, but I assume you can do, well, I hope you could do like SQL type formulas in here. And then you can run this and still get a generic inquiry. So it's thinking, there we go. So that's a huge new thing in generic inquiries, but just got my preview build working tonight or yesterday at this point, and didn't have time to play with this much. Where I'm going with this is there might be a way to do running totals in here, but I think I'm going to wait till R2 officially launches and we get more info about this, because I don't want to just try to figure it out on my own. I'd rather wait until more information is published about this. But another possible way, maybe not even having to use a SQL view anymore. Maybe I could have gotten away with the running totals here. We'd still have a problem, though, of how to plot the two things, because I can't do it on a dashboard. And even though Report Designer, they say at some point is going to be able to use a generic inquiry as its data source, I don't see that yet. And so, yeah, I don't know how we'd pipe like 2 different GIs into a Report Designer. So I think we'd still have trouble there. But anyways, I thought I'd just share some of the other ideas I had. I was trying my best not to have to go to Excel, but at this point, with acuCONNECT less than 2 weeks away, I think that's what I'm going to wind up doing. So with that, I'm going to head off to bed. It's 12:30 in the morning, but I wanted to at least get all this stuff out of my head. At least I did want to go through my reasoning on how I'm winding up with what I'm going to present at acuCONNECT in 13 days from now, or I guess 12 days from now at this point. And at least this is some kind of documentation. So we'll wind up going out to Excel, and we'll go ahead and do that in the next part. That'll just I'll build the Excel file that will I'll wind up presenting in the half an hour that I get at acuCONNECT 2025. So my session will be on Friday the 19th at, I believe it's, let me pull it up here. Friday the 19th at 1:20 p.m. That's when my acuCONNECT session is. I'll even pull it up on the screen here. You go to acu-connect.com. You can register for the virtual event. Click on acuCONNECT 2025 on the top. You'll see registration right here. And then somewhere in here, here we go. Here's the agenda. So I'm on day 2, Friday, September 19. And my session will probably not be that well attended because I'm right alongside Haley Hicks, who always has a great session. So least you can check out the recording. You won't hurt my feelings if you want to attend her session instead, but this is where I'll be doing the final Excel version. But I think we will do a part 4 to this podcast series where we'll build the Excel file and then I'll present the final product here at acuCONNECT. All right, that'll do it for today. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.